Hi guys, welcome back. So there we have it, Wales 16, New Zealand 54. It was a rainy day, but we didn't get one of those boring rainy day games. It was high-paced, high-octane stuff, and in the end, New Zealand ran away with it with a massive win. I mean, the story of the game in the first half, New Zealand were fairly conservative, but very effective with their tactics in the wet. Got a bit of a lead, Wales weren't out of it. In the second half, Wales had a really good 15-minute period that pulled themselves close-ish, but then, unfortunately, they did melt a bit and New Zealand really cut loose towards the end. And 15 minutes of good rugby isn't going to be anywhere near good enough against New Zealand, as it was proved. I mean, at times, Wales really, gave it to New Zealand, but at the end of the day, New Zealand's individuals looked far too good and did outclass Wales. But anyway, let's get through this game. It was very interesting. I did enjoy it, even though it was a big win to New Zealand in the end. And it started off really badly for Wales, unfortunately. New Zealand were super direct in their attack. They were making ground already, forcing some errors, and straight away, off the first decent attack for Wales, Anscombe forces the ball. He doesn't really look where he's passing. Beauden Barrett reads it. He's so good at anticipating these sorts of passes. Straight into his breadbasket, runs away under the sticks, and it's 0-7 straight off the bat. Really dispiriting for Wales, but it was a good quick press from New Zealand in defence that did the job, and they did that all game. Their press was really impressive. And also, I'll say it now, what they did as well with their quick press is they often sent up a flyer, someone who isn't really in the line, they just allow to fly up, often TJ Perenara, to try and cause some destruction in the Welsh defence, and it definitely worked, as Wales' running game struggled a lot in this game to make some ground. Anyway, a breathless start, we're off and running. On 3 minutes, Basham makes a top jackal straight from the kickoff, gets a penalty 3-7. That's what they needed, and Basham was seriously impressive all game. Very quick, good over the ball, very impressive, as many of you guys said he would be. It's end-to-end, it's great pace, it's top draw game at this point, really enjoying it. And Beauden Barrett, a minute later, sniffs a second intercept try. Indeed, he does get one towards the end of the game, but this one, he missed times, only goes with one hand. He knows it's not good enough. He maybe could have got a yellow for that. Let me know if you think he deserved one, but it was a penalty only, so he got away with that. But again, that line speed is impressive from New Zealand. The line-out contest was also impressive. Wales, I thought they might be able to get the edge in the scrum and the line-out. In my preview show, I mentioned that, but not at all. New Zealand were the best team in that area. I think certainly some Wales fans in the comments were not happy that Ken Owens unfortunately couldn't play through injury, and they weren't confident in Elias, and it proved to be the case as he really struggled, to be honest. Anyway, on 30 minutes, Wales turned to put some pressure on in defence on Havili, force a kick error, get a scrum 22, but they can't get any points from it. New Zealand get a penalty, and Havili was probably one of the lowlights for New Zealand, to be fair. He was under pressure going into this game for his spot. I think he may well lose it. Not really enough of anything, a little bit soft in contact for a big guy, I thought, lost the ball a fair bit. Maybe for a dry weather game, he might be the man. On 18 minutes, I made a note that it's a clear tactic from New Zealand to play 1 out of 9, test Wales around that ruck area, and it made yards, so they carried on doing it. The occasional pick and go, the occasional tip pass, but they weren't trying to push the ball wide in the rain. Forces a penalty, they go 3-10 ahead. Then, a big moment on 19 minutes, Alan Wynne-Jones takes a big hit to his shoulder, looks in massive trouble. The thoughts go through your head, is it the same problem? Is it a dislocation again? Is it career-ending stuff? I hope not. And then, indeed, at the end of the game, he looked okay, didn't have his arm in a sling, so it looks like it wasn't a dislocation, but still not good to take another knock to the same shoulder. We'll see how he goes. In 20 minutes, the New Zealand defence continues to force Wales back. They just couldn't make that headway in the first half. They win a penalty. They get 10 metres as well on top of it, which gives them a 50-metre shot at goal for Geordie Barrett, but he misses. Geordie Barrett is a good kicker. He's probably not as good as Mo'unga. I think maybe next match we may see Mo'unga starting. I don't think you can drop Beauden Barrett. Maybe Beauden Barrett will go back to full-back with Mo'unga at 10. But anyway, let me know what you think on that one. And it's not that the Welsh attack is bad. I mean, Wainwright's making ground, Basham's looking good. It's just the New Zealand defence is particularly good in this match, which forced them back. Anyway, 23 minutes, New Zealand line-out was looking good into the 22, but they go to that tight attack again, just left and right, making good ground. It looks like Laulala crashes over, but he does knock on, but there is a penalty anyway, and they get that, so 3-13. So just pushing ahead, conservative but effective tactics, done at pace for New Zealand. Ardy Surveyors, seriously impressive. The New Zealand forwards carries are nasty, causing all sorts of issues for the Welsh defence. Plus they're on top in the set piece and the line out, so Wales are always going to struggle there. Like I said, for Wales, they're not making their headway in their running game, but their kick and chase is decent, giving them some joy. Anyway, 29 minutes, even more short running attacks from New Zealand. Bosh it up to within a metre, could score but give a penalty away. And I made the note here, Havili making more mistakes, not impressive, probably playing his way out of the shirt. Tupai probably will come in. 33 minutes, a really good wet weather try from New Zealand. Seriously impressive. Again, not trying to push the ball wide, but they are tipping it on before the contact and also offloading after the contact, which is impressive, and it is a severe offload to Perenara that gets the try. Nicely done. 3-18. Then Wales come back into it a couple of minutes later. The first big break of the match for Wales from Basham. Who else? Really impressive line. Win a couple of penalties. 10-metre line out, but then Elias makes an absolute shocker and actually makes two shocking throws in a row. I'm pretty sure there'll be comments saying, I told you so, not to rely on him. So will he start in the next match? I seriously doubt it. We will see. Just before half-time, a bit of grey area. We get a yellow card and a penalty for Laulala. Moriarty gets hit in the head. It looks like it's a bit of a no-armser as well, but Moriarty's going very low, and the tacklers are actually trying to go low as well. So should it be a red? Should it be a yellow? I think yellow and penalty is probably correct, but let me know if you thought that was a red. But very difficult when the carrier's going low for you to also try and go below the head, but they did tuck the arms in, so I think that's where it justified the yellow. Wales go to 10 metres out from that, and indeed another line-out muck-up. I was thinking now Elias surely has to go off at half-time. He doesn't. I think he's lucky not to. But they knock the penalty over just after that, 6-18. So at half-time, 6-18, not an insurmountable score. New Zealand are plenty on top, but with that yellow card, can Wales take advantage of it? So second half, New Zealand running down the clock really nicely at the beginning of this second half, taking some scrums, refusing to put width on the ball, and they actually win a penalty off their kicking game, and they move ahead, which is another minute off the yellow card with the kick. So 6-21, nicely done. Perenara's doing his flying up in defence, causing problems. Then we actually get into the best period of play for Wales. A good 10-15 minutes of decent play. Well, Wales forwards bash it up and they actually start making some ground. Go up to 10 metres out, but they lose the ball. But then Owen Lane does a lovely piece of skill, very much like Dan Biggar, popping up the high kick, regathering his own kick. Nice work, jinky work from Thomas Williams. Win a penalty, 9-21. So that was really good. But then a bit of individual brilliance. First, a break from Rieko Ioane, seriously impressive, gets New Zealand going. It works back to the right to Will Jordan, spots a mismatch, goes round Rowlands like he's not even there, he barely moves, chips over Thomas Williams. Could he chase back a bit harder? Possibly, but he knew the game was up. Jordan scores, 9-28, nicely done. But Wales aren't done, they're still playing well. They're moving New Zealand around for the first time, changing the point of contact. Players like McNichol causing some problems with his running game. Go to a 5-metre line out. A lovely little grubber from Priestland goes through to Johnny Williams, who scores the try. 16-28. Could that be a turning point? Priestland certainly has come on and made a big difference. Anscombe wasn't really at the races in that first half. So, it's pretty close at this point. They could come back into it. But actually the game kind of turns on a really unnecessary penalty from Wales. They had just scored that try. Then they gift New Zealand a 5-metre line out with a maul, a couple more penalties, another 5-metre line out. It's actually Papali'i who scores the try. Nicely done. The back peel is the move, but he cancels it as he's a bit late on it, and he spins round and goes over a bit easily himself. 16:35. So instead of Wales getting closer, New Zealand stretch ahead. That's a bit of a killer. And then to cop it off, an absolute worldie. Beauden Barrett goes quick off a line out, which they hadn't done so far, upping the pace. He chips into space and they regather. Then multiple offloads. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Sees Sevu Reece go over. 16:42. So from that Johnny Williams try to, like 7 minutes later, New Zealand being out of sight, that was pretty much the game. And from then on, New Zealand really cut loose. Slick hands put Leonard Brown in, 16:49. It's exhibition stuff from transition. They nearly score another worldie, but the last pass, I think, goes to Wainwright. They cut loose a couple more times. Wales are out on their feet. It's pretty much all over. And they have to force the play. And Beauden Barrett snaffles up his second interception and races down the touchline for 16:54. Really impressive win. Like I said, Wales had a sniff to get back into that game, but then New Zealand absolutely tore away at the end when Wales were out on their feet. And unfortunately, in that last 20 minutes, Wales did melt a bit, which I didn't think they would do. Individually, a bit outclassed. A few good performances in there, the likes of Basham, Wainwright, Priestland. But really, New Zealand far too good all over the park. They fronted up front and seriously gave Wales a bit of a bashing in the tight in that first half. And then, like I said, came away with a few worldie tries and opened up towards the end of the game. So a real textbook way of playing a wet weather game. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of that game. Players impressed and didn't. And I'll catch you guys next time.